Welcome to the second lesson. In this lesson, we will explain how to put the positions in a 3D environment. We start with the definition of 3D Position Editor. 3D Position Editor is a tool that allows you to build a project that contains one or multiple 3D environments, called sites. It allows the user to place the positions from which the effects are shot. Using 3D Position Editor, you will create a project with a library, which contains a collection of sites. Each site contains a 3D environment, sky, background, and ground, that can be displayed from different viewpoints in order to give the illusion of working in a 3D environment. Following is an overview of the interface to explain the main components of the application. You can see that the application is composed of a main menu that lets you manage the libraries and load new ones, manage the sites, the tools, the layout of the windows, and so on. In particular, we have several tools. Tools to manage the positions, tools to manage the background in the entire 3D environment, and tools to manage the single objects that build the entire 3D environment. Notice that there are several panels in this interface. The library panel shows the properties of each site inside the library. For example, properties relative to the sky, to the ground, to the measures of the environment, etc. The position grid panel that shows a table that contains the position's properties such as coordinates, angles, etc. The object grid panel shows the object's properties. Another panel is the object hierarchy. That shows a hierarchical relationship between the objects. This means that it is possible to link the various objects and select and move them like a single object. The Keyframing panel lets you create animations of objects and beams using a timeline, and we will see this component in more detail in another lesson. Next is the Groups and Selections panel that allows you to group both positions and objects so that the user can execute an action on a group of entities instead of a single one. Finally, we have the Tool Options panel, which shows the properties relative to each tool that we can activate. Notice that each panel has the same header, which contains an Auto Hide button and a Close button. With the Auto Hide, a tab is put on the vertical right side. Moving the mouse out of the panel hides. If you move the mouse onto the tab, the panel is shown again. If you click on the Auto Hide button, the panel comes back to its original state. The Close button closes the relative panel. To show the panel again, just go to the Window menu, select the Panels submenu, and select the name of the panel that you want to show again. This same sequence is valid for all the other panels. Another feature of the interface is that you can move each panel by clicking on the corresponding tab and moving out. This is how you can customize your interface. In fact, you can move this panel, for example, the Groups and Selections panel, anywhere you want by clicking on the header of the panel and moving it, for example, next to the Tool Options panel, or next to Library panel, or back to the original position. Of course, if you move the panel on top of another panel, the two panels will be grouped. In the second lesson, we will explain the toolbars. You can see that the application is composed of a main toolbar. In this toolbar, you can find all the tools that are referenced under the menu Tools. There are tools for the positions, tools for the 3D environment, tools for the camera to rotate, zoom, and move, tools to manage single objects, and so on. Let's go deeper into this. Now you see how you can zoom in on the views. In the main toolbar, there are three particular tools. First is Rotate Camera. Select it, and with the left mouse button, you can rotate the perspective view, left and right, up and down. The same for the left view, for the front view, and for the top view. The second tool, Move Camera, lets you move the camera in the perspective view, left and right, up and down. You can do the same in the other viewports. Finally, we have the tool Zoom Camera. The perspective view here is like walking on the grid forwards and backwards. While in the other views, left view for example, you can zoom in and out. Same for front view and top view. Notice that you can also zoom with the wheel of your mouse. An important aspect to focus on. The zoom depends on the mouse's position. For example, we put the mouse here and we zoom in and out in this position, or here, and so on. We continue our second lesson with viewports. You will now see another important aspect of our software. As we mentioned in the beginning, the 3D Position Editor allows you to create libraries in which you can create several sites. For each site, there is a graphical view of its content. You can always see your site split in 4 views. One front view, in which you can see the 3D environment in front. The left view has a view relative to the left side. Top view from the top. And perspective view. For each viewport, we see the button Auto Hide. That permits us to hide a particular view from the screen and put it on the left side like a tab. Moving the mouse on the tab, the view, in this case front view, appears again. To restore the front view, select again Auto Hide. The same function works for the other views. The Close button is simple to understand. It closes the selected view. To restore the view, with a right mouse click, select which view you want to restore, for example, front view. We can notice the difference from perspective view and other views. The perspective view shows the object in perspective with a global vision of the object placed in the 3D environment. In any case, it is better to place the positions in the top, front, left views because we have a more precise vision of the position's location, distances, and vector's direction. You can, finally, reset the views to their default position. In all 4 views, notice that for each position there are 3 vectors that represent a reference for 3 coordinates, because we are in a 3D environment. This is important to understand because it's a key concept used to manage the positions that will shoot the effects in this environment. We continue the second lesson with the rendering properties in the viewports. This toolbar is used to modify the graphic properties of the views. First is texture filtering. That provides a cleaner vision of the images. For example, zoom in, click on texture filtering, and you see that the picture is cleaner. Another tool is Wireframe. That renders the objects showing the polygonal edges. and can help to place positions and orientations. Show Grid is a tool that shows or hides the grid. Then we have the Flat Shading tool, used to highlight the edges in order to refine the lines of a picture. Finally, we have Show Sky tool and Show Terrain tool, to show or hide the sky and terrain pictures that you used when you set up the properties of the site. We can customize our viewports in terms of colors used to render the various entities, like the grid, the position vectors, and so on. To customize the colors, go to the Edit menu and click on Preferences. A new window appears. There are two tabs for the properties of the viewports. The first tab, called Rendering, contains the same customization properties as seen in the previous toolbar. In fact, there are the same texture filtering, wireframe, show grid, etc. In the same tab, there is the Vector Length option to establish a measure of the length of the vectors used to represent the positions. You can increase or decrease this value to show a cleaner vision of all the positions in the 3D environment. For example, put 15 in this field and click on Apply. Notice in the viewports that the length of the vectors has changed. In the Colors tab is a list of entities that can have a color change. For example, click on the Grid Color entity. At the right is the color currently assigned to that entity. To change the color, click on the Change button and select another color, for example, dark gray. Click on Apply, and you can see the change in the viewport.